Because we have a birthday party to attend, and it takes me about 94 seconds to get dressed.
Exactly, exactly.
I've already got my little outfit hanging in the closet. I just got to slip in and let's rock.
Right.
The wife's been getting ready since noon.
Uh, yeah, look, likewise. Am I too loud? I feel like my input's too hot.
No,
You're
but
good,
My
man.
I don't
tone?
know. Can I try something? If TJ,
Yeah.
can you try and mute yourself for 5 seconds?
Right here. Hold on one second. This guy?
Just want to test something. Okay, not fine. Then the
Is it-
echo is here.
Are you hearing echo from me?
When I talk, I hear an echo. Yeah.
I hear you. Your echo, yeah.
All right, let me see. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me.
Maybe it's me.
Fix it. I'll turn on echo cancellation. Can you hear me? Now,
Yes. Oh,
That-
now it's perfect.
Okay, I think it was me. Yeah, I've been trying to get my audio a little better, and so here we go. Hey, all right. Well, we oh, there he is. Hey,
I'm still here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can
All
definitely.
right,
hear
we
you.
fixed it.
Oh, awesome. Oh, yeah. So I was saying, thanks guys for making the time on a Saturday, and especially a little bit earlier. We did this so we could accommodate Neil, who is in Belgium, and it is 1 a.m. So kudos to him. That deserves a like and a subscribe.
Exactly.
Yeah. So welcome to another episode of Finance Junkies, the best financial entertainment group podcast on the internet. I'm your host, Carlos. Can we just go around the room, everybody introduce themselves, starting with TJ, the wheel deal, who needs no introduction?
What's going on, guys? Carlos, real quickly.
Yeah.
Bro, we're going to have to talk about that alcohol habit I see there in the background, dude.
Dude, if you've been watching, those bottles have been there for 4 years. You know what happens? Like I do like fight parties for like UFC, and people come by and bring me bottles, and they just sit there.
Hey, bro,
I
your
wish I
lie.
had time.
It's your lie. Tell it like you want, Carlos. Tell it like you
No. Believe me, there's moments that I wish, but I would be completely useless drunk. I feel like I don't know. I feel like that era is sort of beyond me. Like it's past me now. I'm not saying I was a big drinker, but I was big on social drinking. But man, when you start taking care of your health, you realize how alcohol just hurts everything: gym, sleep, mood. So no, we were just talking about that. You know, your pill addiction. We're gonna have to keep an eye on you, TJ.
Bro, I'm
With those freaking
seriously worried
Percocets.
about myself. That I've had a. For those of y'all that don't know, I had a. The fuck? They put the little screw up there, the
Implant screw.
Dude, it turns out I'm a pill popper, dude. Like I'm looking forward to pain medication time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
He's
so
ripping out
thankful
another
I never
tooth.
drank, I never smoked because I was the junkie that never was. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you're on the perfect show. All right, we'll keep going. Heinzie.
Oh, my name is Heinz. I'm a pretty much a fan of the Finance Junkies. I don't drink a lot. I'm actually a cheap date. With enough drinks though, I'll put out.
I can concur. You were in Vegas, but I only felt you up over the shirt. It was over the shirt. All right, Neil.
Well, I'm Neil. I'm the couch investor. I have a YouTube channel, Couch Investing. Been on the Finance Junkie, I think, once or twice before. So happy to be back.
Because of the time difference. You hit a recent milestone on your subs, haven't
Yeah.
you? Was it
Yes,
50?
50,000.
50,000 subs. That's amazing. Incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
very much.
speaking of which, we're at how many we got on this thing? 4,600 subs. If everybody can hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, would really appreciate it. If you don't like it, if you don't like this episode, unsubscribe at the end. Who cares? But just let's put some positive energy there. And then data driven investing. You're the hardest guy to get to book on your show.
That's only because I have so many kids.
Yeah.
So my name is Chris. I'm a chemical engineer by trade. I do this mostly as a hobby. I like to write articles and stuff. And so I just, yeah. And then every once in a while, I've been on this show
Once or twice.
like once or twice. Yeah. And it's been at least a year. So
At least. It's crazy.
He's a
we've been doing
former
this.
Olympian as well.
that is actually
That's
true.
right. That's right. What were you Olympian for?
I did the luge
The
in the
luge.
Winter Olympics.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Tell me a story about that. Like, just tell me a story about being in the luge in the Olympics. What year was it?
So it was 2002. I
Okay.
was 17 years old. I had just turned 17 like a month
Damn.
before when I went there. And so I made fun of my high school on TV.
On
That
air?
was a good one. Yeah, after my run.
What do you say?
Well, no, I guess I made fun of my friends. They're like, how does it feel? And I was like, well, I'm here and all my friends are at school, so I'm happy with that.
All right, just took a little.
But yeah, just like nothing too big. But no, it was awesome. Like experience of a lifetime. I don't know how to describe it, right? Like, and it's also been quite a while ago now. So
I'd imagine.
But yeah.
I mean, it doesn't come close to comparing, but when I was 14, I actually got to play Carnegie Hall. I beat out like 1,600 trumpet players. And so I was like third trumpet in this orchestra of all the best players in New York City. And I got to stand on that stage and play in an orchestra and hear what it sounds like when you're on a stage, and hearing it from that perspective. It was absolutely incredible. And at 14 years old, I didn't really understand what the implications of that. It makes more sense to me now that I'm older, but I know what that sounds like. It's a kind of a cool experience to have, to know what it sounds like to get a standing ovation at Carnegie Hall,
That's awesome.
But it's not anywhere close to, did you medal? How'd you guys do?
No. So I got 31st out of 50. And I competed for Venezuela. So my dad's from Venezuela. And so I competed for them. And then afterwards, the issue with luge is that it's not a sport that lends itself to a normal life. So 5 months out of the year, you're training and you're hopping all over Europe and North America to all these different tracks, doing World Cups and World Championships and stuff. And then the other 7 months of the year, most of the people who are, professional luge athletes are bartenders or work at Home Depot or cops or something like police officers or something on the side, because then, 7 months of the year, you don't do anything. You continue to kind of train, right? But you can't actually do the sport because it's not winter.
How do you
ice on the
how
track.
do you find out you're good at that? I would go to the handball court, or play baseball or play football on the street, but how do you, are you just laying in bed one day and you go, I could do this really fast?
So no, I mean, very few people even try it, right? It's not really a hobby sport that anybody does. The way we got into it was actually, so my dad's like an Olympic junkie, right? And our whole family was, or is Olympic junkies. We love the Olympics. And so we were watching the 98 Olympics. And he saw the Venezuelan flag waving down during the closing ceremonies. He was like, who the heck is competing for Venezuela in the Winter Olympics, right? It's
Right.
on the equator. And so he did some, this was before Google existed, but he actually had some contacts. So he was a national champion gymnast for years and years in the past. And so he had some contacts in Venezuela, and just tried to figure out who it was. And it turned out to be a lady who lived in Salt Lake. So I lived in Boise, Idaho at the time. I'm now 40 minutes from Salt Lake. But yeah, so she was like, hey, we're trying to put a team together for the next Olympics. You guys should come and try it. And then tried it out. And we did really well initially. And again, there's not that many people who try it, but yeah, I was pretty talented. But then kind of just wanted to have a real life, right? I went to college and I realized that wasn't the life that I wanted to have going forward. One where you're just traveling around. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have a career that I could work on. And so kind of I did my last official race was when I was 21, and I'm 39 now. So it's been quite a while.
Real quickly, luge, you're laying there, right?
Yeah. You're laying on your back, feet first.
So what is the difference between that and the bobsled? Because I remember Herschel Walker, they were pushing this thing, and then they're called the bobsled team. Is that
so there's
more than one, right?
There's three sports that are on these ice tracks. So luge is the one where you're on your back, feet first. Bobsled, either there's 2-man and 4-man bobsled, and the only person, so you push the sled, and then the person who's in front drives, but the person in the back doesn't actually do it. Once they push, they hop in and they're just dead weight going down not dead weight, but they're extra weight going down the track. And then there's skeleton, which is face first on your stomach.
Oh, hell no.
You guys never seen Cool Runnings?
Yeah.
You guys grew up with that? That's what it is.
Yeah. That's bobsled, yeah.
That's still anyway an interesting background, talking point. That must have been great on first dates. Oh, by the way, just drop that.
So the interesting thing is so it's a big deal when you talk about it, but at the same time, it's not something that I really think of as defining me. I think I think of myself more as a father, an engineer. There's things that I want to be in life. Yeah. And the fact that I'm Olympian is super cool, but it's not for me personally, it's not one of those things that defines me. So it actually doesn't come up that often anymore. And every once in a while, like someone will bring it up, and it's kind of like it's weird to me, also that I'm an Olympian, if that makes any sense.
Well, you're so far removed.
Yeah, and that too.
Nice. Well, again, welcome everybody to the show. Okay, we're 10 minutes in. The title of the show was Powell's going to cut RIP Uber and taxing unrealized gains. But considering what happened yesterday, that RFK officially suspended his campaign, I think we should talk about it. Like, I know this is like mostly related to stocks and finance, but this has huge implications. I feel like this election, more than anything, and especially coming 4 years after the pandemic and all the money printing and inflation and blah, 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 it's a really important time right now. And I don't think markets really know what to do. So, like, what was your guys' reaction to that? And Neil, you're overseas, so we definitely want to get your take on how this is seen from the outside. What did you guys think? TJ?
There we are. I'm sorry. Come again?
RFK suspending his campaign and endorsing Trump. It looks like he's vying for a cabinet position related to health, right? I think he'd be great for the CIA. That would just be the ultimate irony, like the chef's kiss, appointee. But fine, if he wants to work on health. What did you think?
I lost $100 bet on that whole deal. I thought that Donald Trump was going to pick him as his VP running mate.
Well, it's kind of, now we kind of get to see what that would have looked like. Didn't it kind of feel like that yesterday? Like,
or the dude from Florida. I don't know, DeSantis. Yeah, I'm not like a super political aficionado, if you will, but I do have to follow a little bit because it has very important implications for what we do for a living.
Yeah.
Whether you wanted to or not, I mean, it's just a reality of it. Like
that's
nothing.
I don't feel like you can stay political right now.
Politics in the news. That give a shit about your little squiggly lines and your technical bullshit. Coloring book. Nothing compares to a freaking Donald Trump tweet when he was president, right? I mean, it could move the needle 300 points either way. I don't know, man. I think that it's gonna, the people on the right side and the Republicans on the right side, I think that they're gonna band together and they're gonna, they're gonna make it work and spin it however it works for them to control whatever narrative that they want to put out there. I'm sure the people on the left are gonna get their panties in a bunch and they're gonna have a little virtual fight called an election on November, whatever day it is this time, the 5th, I think. And we'll hash it out. Hopefully there's a clear-cut winner. Hopefully the person that loses could accept that they lose on whatever side it falls on. And on this channel, on my channel, we're going to put sell-cost, collect premium, roll when necessary. And we're all going to have to adjust accordingly. And hopefully it doesn't get too divisive. I mean, if you're on the left, you're on the right, or you're logical like me, that's kind of like right in the middle. I'm willing to listen to both parties. Just love each other, dude. Be kind. In a world where you can be anything, just fucking be nice. Because that's easy to do. And accept the fact that we're not all going to agree on everything. But that's what this beautiful country is based on, is the fact that we can all agree to disagree and still choose to get along. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to a choice that we all make individually. So that's my political pitch, if you will.
You want to say something, Heinze?
For me, I think for me, the biggest impact with RFK endorsing Trump was the Bitcoin price. So if you guys know,
Bitcoin had no joke yesterday.
Bitcoin reacted to that because if you pay attention to RFK, and to me, he sounds very anti-establishment, which is pretty much what Bitcoin is, right? He's a big advocate of self-custody and financial freedom. So that's what he says, right? So I think with that endorsement, that really did, I think, affected the Bitcoin price. I think it's up like 3%. I think it went from like 60 to like 64 or something like that.
The pushback to that is it was the only market that was open.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. We'll see what happens on Monday, both in the markets and as well as in big pharma. Right. Yeah. He's basically saying is that to come in and put some serious regulation, like bring a serious hammer down. So I'm curious if there'll be any reaction. Might be too early.
And one of the things that interests me about RFK, and somebody brought it up in the chat, I think it was June, was he's really an advocate for changing how we consume. especially for the young kids. Like if you guys really pay attention to, the patterns of obesity and things like that, he
Yeah.
takes that into account, right? So he's, trying to improve, or at least bring forward the education out there of how bad, we're like, there's a lot of food that's actually, if you read the labels, there's a lot of bad things that's in our food, right? Like for me, one of the things that I learned being in healthcare is, reading like the, what is it, the back of the, like a cookie.
Label.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back of the label of the cookie.
Yeah.
Like
There's
people
100. Yeah.
people don't realize that there's a lot more salt, right? In there's a lot more sodium in a cookie than in a potato chip. So I think I really like that stance on him. Now I do feel bad that he did get kind of pushback. As you guys know, his family history with the Kennedys,
Yeah.
they're mainly Democrat, so he did get a lot of pushback from some of his family members. Ending his campaign and joining and endorsing Trump. So hopefully everything works out. Sharing the same sentiment with TJ is, it all comes down to the debates and the swing states. I think for me that's the biggest thing to look out for.
Neil, how is all of this perceived from overseas?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll start by saying how crazy it is that 1 month ago they tried to kill the guy.
Yeah,
Trump.
that's right. That's
and,
right.
And it's as if it never happened. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Well, that's how crazy our political and media cycle is right now. That something like an assassination attempt is just not news anymore. It's like passe. No one wants to talk about it.
It's not news because it's Trump. I don't know if there was an attempt assassination on Biden, I think we'd still be talking about it.
Well, I mean, they kind of took him out. Just they didn't assassinate him, but arguably they took him out.
Yeah, I mean that already tells me how crazy things are today. Then all the rest. I mean, I joked on X asking Elon for a job, and once I get accepted, I'll send him my resume, because that's exactly what's happening right now, right? No policies, vote for me, and then we'll see what happens. I mean, she's VP today, 3 years and a half already. You have a vice president and a president, but no, we'll do stuff once you vote for me, and then starting 2025, I'll start to change stuff that I could have changed 3.5 years ago. I don't know. All of this is crazy. Not saying in Europe it's better. In Europe, it's a complete shit show as well, right?
What's going on in Belgium right now? What's the political climate out there?
There was an election in Belgium. You have a thing called cordon sanitaire. There is a party, they call it far right party. Yeah, okay, it's true. It was previously far right. Now it's right, but they have some extremists in there. And there's this rule, let's say, where you cannot make a coalition with that party. It has become a very, very big party because they are extremists, so-called extremists. You cannot make a coalition with them. So, okay, now we wait again until we have a government.
Oh, until you have another election.
No, we had an election. We're still waiting for the government to actually form.
And how long does that take? I mean,
there was a period where we had to work.
What are you running with? No.
Yeah, you run with whatever. We have a king, by the way. We have a king and queen, so not that it matter much, but yeah,
like just figureheads.
Yes, money.
And what are you thinking? What do you think, Chris?
So I think, I don't know. Like I've recently waded into the political quagmire on X.
I did. Listen, I did, and I commend you for that. You said some things that were unpopular.
I've said lots of things that are
like really, yeah, but that was mostly about SoFi stock.
Yeah, that's also true.
Like it's on the moon, Like.
Here's the thing about so I'm pretty similar to TJ. So I am a moderate conservative, right? Like when I take like those online polls, like I almost always hit almost dead center.
Right. Yeah, me too.
And there's lots of things that I disagree with, like policy wise. I find myself tending more towards like Trump's policies than Kamala's. The ones that she's actually released are just the like her economic policies I think are terrible. But at the same time, like there's lots of things that the Republicans do that I don't agree with as well. And the interesting thing is that I get pushed back on both sides quite a bit.
But isn't that the goal, right? When
I
you're
think
equally
that's
hated
the
by
goal,
both sides,
right?
that's what Elon says. You know.
But maybe anyway, we'll see. But like, as far as the RFK thing, I don't know if you guys watched his speech. It was
Which one?
actually like the one yesterday, RFK's, that
Yes.
he made on X. I was impressed, and like honestly, RFK was one of the. I was seriously considering voting for him. I might still,
Right.
because I'm in a red state, so he's still going to be on the ballot here. We were actually the first ones to put him on the ballot, so there you go. But
Right.
like, it was really interesting because he is a lifelong Democrat. It was really interesting because he has these things that he feels really, really strongly about. The freedom of speech, obviously the health stuff that we've talked about, and then also the Ukraine-Russia situation that's going on. And that those three things, because he was more aligned with Trump, that he ended up going in that direction was actually, to me, like the ability to be able to change your mind is something that's really rare, and especially in a public figure. And that's actually that made me gain just a lot of respect for him, that the fact that his principles are more important than his persona. And like that means a lot to me as a person. And the thing that I kind of, again, like, so I have a big problem with Trump as a person. Like, I think
Me
he's a
too.
jerk. I think he's a complete dirtbag.
Likewise.
I like, he's divisive. He really doesn't do a good job of uniting the country. He insults people all the time when it's not needed, right? Like, there's things about Trump personality-wise that I really don't like. But the cabinet that he seems to be assembling, like if we get Elon in a cabinet position, and RFK in a cabinet position, and Vivek and JD Vance as his VP, like these are people. Yeah, like exactly. All these people are really intelligent, and not only that, they're not just yes men. Like, my concern, I guess, with Trump is that he is very egotistical, right? And he wants what he wants when he wants it, and he's willing to step on toes and fire people. And like, but I don't think that type of cabinet is going to push back on him when they think that he's doing something wrong. So from a policy perspective, I like the fact that he's like, I mean, it'd be a year ago, if you would have said that like Trump would give RFK a spot on the ticket or in his cabinet, that would have been insane. Nobody would have believed you. We would have gotten like 5,000 to 1 odds on that, right? And so it's just interesting how it's shaping out. Those are kind of my high level thoughts on it all.
I was thinking about it strategically. I was trying to see how somebody loses. Like, I think for RFK, the biggest benefit, like if I have to steel man this thing, because he's getting a lot of pushback from his own supporters who felt like he abandoned them, right, etc. But what he really wanted was to be able to speak about the issues that he cares about to a bigger audience. The audience he had yesterday was the biggest audience that he would have spoken to. And now the media can no longer black him out. Now he's going to get the FaceTime on the media, and he's basically going to be talking about the same things. So in a way, there was a skillful move on his part to throw his support at this time, because it keeps him relevant. Otherwise, he's just a spoiler guy. So I think it was a really smart move by him, and we'll see how it turns out. But I think it was a smart move by him, and we'll see how markets respond to that, or the idea of him having a position in the cabinet.
I do have a question from an outsider.
Yeah.
How can people still vote for a certain person? You do whatever you want, but when you have a sitting president, and then you have someone like RFK that was in the Democratic Party, wants to put his name on the ballot, run in the primaries, etc., he gets kicked out because whatever reason. Then they don't run Biden anymore. They go straight to Kamala without anyone challenging for that spot, despite RFK wanting to challenge for that spot. And that other guy as well, I forgot his name, the guy with the ice cream and the alcohol, the vodka drink. Forgot the name.
Sanders
No, a young guy, Phillips something.
Oh, and
Dean Phillips.
Yeah, this was recent.
Dean Phillips, yeah. How does that make sense in the United States of America?
It was money. It was money. There was a lot of money that was allocated to the incumbent that they would have lost if someone from the original ticket wasn't the nominee. There's a lot of money too. So it made sense to run her, because then they now have access to all of those funds. Otherwise, those funds go away. So, I mean, I think that could have been the deciding factor. I mean, are you going to give up all that money? Besides,
democracy, money.
RFK is not necessarily a favorite of those in power.
That's true.
Should have taxed those unrealized gains.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking of which, I'm glad. I wanted to watch. It's not necessarily unrealized capital gains, which we can talk about. Why don't we take a few seconds to talk about that? I got a video here on that. So you guys heard that, right? That they're proposing this idea to tax the unrealized capital gains. Now, right now, from how I understand it, it would only be for people whose wealth is in excess of $100 million.
Correct.
But the idea is, the public conversation around it is, if it'll start at $100 million, then it'll slowly come down and down and down. There's a really good chart that I saw. I want to show you guys this. See if you guys. Let me just get a window that I can pull up that's related to this. All right. So this was. Let's see. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
So this was the percentage of households that filled out an income tax return from 1913 to 2008. And so you can see that initially the taxes were something that were just paid for by the rich. I'll kind of zoom in on this. So you can see here that only about 40% of Americans paid tax at like the maximum. Somewhere in the 1920s, it plummeted back down. By 1930, it was only about 15 or 20% of the population was actually paying taxes. And then from 1940 to essentially 1950, that shot up. 100% here says the number of income tax returns equal to the number of households. So in about 1942, it says the number of tax returns equal the number of households. And now we're here, at these levels, 120%. So I guess there's more, multiple people having multiple businesses. So I think that's the concern that people have, is that even though it starts off as like, oh, we're just going to tax the wealthiest Americans, it's slowly that threshold's going to come down, and then TJ is going to be driving Uber. So what do you guys think of that? Do you think that that's just a dog whistle to the people that want to tax the billionaires, make them pay their fair share, or is it there's a legitimate thing of passing?
I mean, Chris Cuomo said something quite interesting when he explained that the boxes at the DNC, the VIP boxes, cost $500,000. Yeah. Again, I highly doubt it's the same as I highly doubt they're going to tax those billionaires. Let's be honest. Same with Hillary and Trump in that 2016 debate, talking about taxes and stuff like that. Again, lots of backers for Democrats are billionaires. Are they going to get hit with those taxes? No, I don't think so. Same with the Republicans, lots of billionaires there as well. So I don't know. It's again, making sure that the rich guys are seen as evil is never a good plan, because these folks have the money to move away from certain areas. And then you have like the middle class and the guys under it, they'll get screwed because they cannot move. They cannot go wherever. Burger Kings, Home Depots, all of that, they can move away from your area, and then you're stuck with nothing. And what's the point in that? Nothing.
You're seeing some of that now. Yeah, that's what worries me. People demonizing these guys. These guys are the heads of the most powerful companies in the world. They created tons of jobs. They keep America at the forefront of innovation. It's crazy how we've just completely gone off the rails. It's like we're demonizing some of the look. Then there's some bad actors, but to demonize them as a group, I think is dangerous. It's one of the reasons why CEOs have to be so scared on social media.
I think part of it also, like, it's a bad policy decision for America, in my opinion. And the reason why is because if you tax people who have really high wealth, like they've tried this before, right? They tried it in France. They had a wealth tax. Everybody who was wealthy left France. It was bad for their economy.
Yeah.
They tried it in Norway. Everybody who was wealthy in Norway left. It was bad for the economy, right? Like, it's not necessarily, and it's not that these people, like, I also get frustrated when like people try to evade taxes, and like you like if you have a realized gain, it makes sense that you should pay taxes on it, right? Like, I don't think that that's that's not a cutting edge idea. But taxing unrealized losses is crazy, because it's just like the way that you'd actually have to implement it is just nuts, because a lot of these are really illiquid things, right? For example, so say that Finance Junkies blows up and Carlos decides to start his own ETF, and he goes bonkers, and all of a sudden
it would be JNK.
There you go. So that he starts a JNK ETF, right? And all of a sudden people start flowing money to him now. So Carlos is probably taking, a salary of something, but say that all of a sudden goes to 100 million. Now Carlos owes like what? Well,
200
with their new proposed tax hike on capital gains, now you'd owe 48 million. How are you going to get 48 million in liquid dollars? Like that, you can't do that, right? Like I have a brother who, who's an entrepreneur, and he has a company, and him and his wife take a salary that's like way lower than any of their employees.
Right.
Because they're trying to grow the business. Now, like their business right now wouldn't qualify, but like at some point, maybe their net worth, if that business grows, their net worth gets to $100 million. Now they have to pay, call it $20 to $40 million in taxes. Like they don't even have more than, like, they don't have a tenth or probably 100th of that liquid. And so I don't know how you, like it would be really hard to do. It de-incentivizes innovation. It de-incentivizes venture capital going in and investing in these types of things. And so I just think it's a bad policy, like for a lot of different reasons. And that's kind of most of them, right?
On that note, I want to share this. This is one of the most brilliant examples. I wasn't even thinking of this, but just check this out. This is how this could actually work. Unrealized capital gains 101. You bought 100 shares of Zoom stock in January 2020 for $75 a share. It ends the year at $350 a share, but you didn't sell, but you have an unrealized gain of $27,000. Under the plan, you owe $6,800 in taxes, but you didn't sell, so you don't have the cash, so you pay the taxes out of your savings. You continue to hold until August and finally sell at $60 a share. You lost $1,500 on the stock, plus you paid taxes on $27,000 of gains that you never actually realized since they evaporated. The initial tax proposal is only targeting 100 million, but that's just the start. It opens up the gate to lower the threshold for whatever they choose. I mean, think about that. You could actually, that's like being in permanent margin. You're in permanent margin. Constantly
it would derail the stock market. And guys, that's, to me, this talk is about as stupid as when they say that we're coming after your guns. I live in Texas. You ain't fucking coming after me. I'm just saying, I don't like to have discussions that are way more theoretical than, like, I mean, the possibility of this coming to fruition is me growing tall, dark, and handsome with a full head of hair. None of it's happening. You know what I mean? Like, none of it's happening. And I would like for you to let me share the screen right here, and I can create it to your
and welcome.
What up, Tevis?
Yo! All right.
What's up?
So I would like to meet y'all already experimenting with bullshit in California. In its simplest form, the California mansion tax is an additional tax on real estate transfers when the sales price surpasses a specific threshold. Currently, these thresholds are 5 million to 10 million, an additional 4% tax above the standard transfer tax, above 10 million, an additional 5.5%. And it is totally crushing the upper echelon, the higher end real estate in California. We don't need to share it anymore, Carlos. So, guys, I just think that, I heard when I was 19 years old, and I don't know if this is true, but I was in one of these network marketing deals where you recruit 2 people and they recruit 2 people, and in 30 minutes, the whole world's under you.
Yeah.
But the person in front of the room said something that really struck a chord, because he was holding that book, Think and Grow Rich, and I was reaching for it because I usually have it here on my desk. But I remember that the cleaning lady was here and she put it in the closet and I haven't put it back. Yeah. But he said 3% of the people control 97% of the wealth.
Now, when you say control, that means they own the assets, or they're controlling the people.
It's like 97% of the people work for 3% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how factual this is. Again, I don't know how to fact check stuff. I'm not a librarian, right? But there might be something along those lines that might be true. I feel like there's a real big percentage of the money that is controlled by a few amount of the people, percentage wise. So I feel like the laws are made by billionaire buddies for their billionaire friends. And that's just the way the fucking world works. And I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings. So I just don't think that they're going to, I think that the illusion of politics is these people have a real good way of pretending to care about you, or appearing to care about the little guy. Like, we're all the little guys in comparison to the real big money in the world. So I just don't think that they would do that. It's unrealistic. We're only just talking about the stuff that we know, the stock market. How are you going to do something on unrealized gains on, say, real estate? Because a lot more people have their wealth in fear.
That's the fear.
You're always writing off depreciation. Now you're going to get taxed on virtual appreciation. I mean, dude, it's just as unrealistic as saying that I'm in Texas and Kamala's going to be president and they're going to come after our guns. We fucking know it's not going to happen. So it's just a big fat nothing burger that's getting me hungry because I want a hamburger.
Okay. No, that was a mouthful. All right, real quick, I just want to say real quick. Well, first of all, welcome, Tevis. Thanks for making it, man.
Hey, what's up, guys?
I
have lots of thoughts on this tax thing. So,
so that's when he hopped on. You're apparently someone's favorite Canadian. But before you do, I want to say welcome to Drive. I guess became a YouTube member. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. And David B, bro, thank you for the $69. We got to read it. He says, do you think it's possible that aliens are not extraterrestrials? They are actually demons from another dimension. We should not be trying to contact them. And that is why more people from the occult have made disturbing contact with them. Tevis, you just got in, so you got to answer that question. You got to answer that first. Okay, so put it on the screen. Do you think that it is possible that aliens are not extraterrestrials, but that they're demons from another dimension? And how do we make money off of
that? I think I stumbled onto the wrong podcast.
Well, did you see when Peter Thiel was on Joe Rogan talking about the idea of like angels and demons? So in a nutshell, what he was saying, with a sufficiently advanced civilization, if they can invent a warp drive, that basically makes you God, right? Because you can basically move anything anywhere instantaneously. It becomes the most powerful weapon that can never be stopped. And so what he's saying is that in order for a civilization to reach that, they either have to be angels, right, the most altruistic, or demons. And Joe Rogan looked at him the same way. All right, I'll answer the question unless anybody else wants to jump. I feel like Chris has something to say.
No,
you're not touching this one?
The occult.
I think he's just too rich that he has enough time to think of this shit.
Yeah. What is Dave? Why don't we ask you, what do you do for a living that you're throwing $70 at a bunch of guys?
I think Heinze was talking about Peter Thiel.
Yeah, I mean hey.
Oh yeah, I was talking about Peter Thiel.
Oh, I thought you were talking about David.
No. I appreciate that. He's always
that he's super rich.
Remember,
I think he's super rich.
Dude, he was the one that got Ogre to do a shout out on the Finance Junkies. Remember that?
That's right.
Remember with Revenge of the Nerds?
That's right. Revenge of the Nerds. Yeah, dude, that's right. It sounds like it. Well, look, while I got you, Chris, actually, Tevis, Auntie, we got to talk SoFi. We just have to talk SoFi. This is like a dream team of SoFi. Chris, I want to start with you, because there was a recent conversation. People were asking, the sentiment's really low. Stock is not a good place. People are watching other horses run, and it's not going anywhere. So my first question for you is I understand why you're bullish. I read all of your data. It all makes sense. But why is no one getting it? And what are you waiting for on this stock?
Dude,
what is the moonshot?
Right, I don't know. Why is sentiment so low? I'm not sure. I can tell you that I probably know the bear case better than most bears. Probably 99% of bears.
As you should, right? Because you've got a lot of.
Yeah, it's my largest position, right? And I've been writing about it and covering it at length for multiple years at this point. And I look at it from a bottoms-up valuation where I say, okay, what is the intrinsic value of this company if they continue to grow the way they have, or even if they don't continue to grow from here? What level of growth is priced in? And it's single digits growth for
that's what the market's pricing in, or what they're guiding for.
That's what the market's pricing in. If you do a discounted cash flow model, it's a couple, it's ridiculous. And then you look at multiples, so you compare it to say Robinhood and Affirm and Upstart and Coinbase and every other fintech on the market, and it is ridiculously undervalued, despite the fact that, with the exception that it's had faster growth than any of those, faster consistent growth. If you look at a 3-year CAGR, the only things that grow faster than it are New, which is quadrupled off its bottom, and a couple others, maybe some of the like Toast and Shift 4. But that have much lower margins. So as far as gross profit goes, so gross margins. And I don't know, because they just keep delivering every single quarter. And then they it doesn't matter. The market still hates them. And
But
I'm not sure
what is
going
that?
what
What is that?
going to change.
Why is Robinhood taking off? Why is PayPal putting in a 52-week high?
So-
PayPal is putting in a 52-week high.
I know,
Like,
right?
About damn time. About damn time.
yeah, I got some in PayPal. It's called Pain Pal. But like, and TJ, please weigh in. You know that TJ is basically the CFO of fucking SoFi.
Yes.
Like, so, like, and I know you're making money on the calls and puts, and that's still, to me, I'm curious why you picked SoFi, because there's other companies that I think have a larger premium, but I cannot argue with your results. And you don't seem worried at all at these levels. But is it because you're making money on these little moves up and down, just selling calls and puts and collecting money? Or do you also expect that at some point market's going to wake up, stock's going to go boom, and you're going to be able to cash out and actually take some returns on this? Because you got to factor in opportunity cost at some point. Even you, Chris. Like, the longer you hold the position and it doesn't perform, don't you look at other stocks kind of like that meme, looking at the other girlfriends being like, oh, I could have made, Celsius, oh, there it goes, or whatever it is,
Or that stick that says, "Hey, do something."
Right. Yeah. The stick, just come on, poke.
I'll let TJ talk. We can talk opportunity cost afterwards.
So my play on SoFi is very, very, like, my bull case is Anthony Noto. Like, SoFi, I think the one-stop digital shop, all that stuff, I think that's all great. But I think that they legit picked the perfect person to take them to the promised land. And when I studied, I want to give a shout out to these two, the nerds here on the corners right here. Both of these guys right there.
They'll make you very rich. They'll make you very rich.
They were on SoFi Weekly and Tanner too.
Mm-hmm.
And they shed light on the performance compensation. It was
SoFi?
25, 35, 45. I believe it's June of 2026. Hopefully I didn't screw it up too much.
You got it.
So I was like, okay, cool. Let me go research that, because they pointed me in the right direction of this big ass library. Let's say we're at my alma mater, University of Texas. We had the undergraduate library, one of the largest in the nation.
Yeah.
And I started to go find a fucking book there because it's real big. You know what I'm saying? So they pointed me in the right direction. And I was like, well, let me go research because you told me where to go. And I verified for myself that, this dude, Anthony Noto, stands to make a shitload of money if SoFi goes to 25, 35, then 45 by this set date, which I believe is June of 2026. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm probably screwing it all up. I hope I'm not.
Nope, you're right.
So I wanted to position myself to get paid if this fucking dude gets paid. And I'm like, in the interim, I can use my skill set with the wheel strategy, selling puts, selling calls, strangling shit out of the stock, buying some leaps. And I'm like, dude, it'd be real cool if I could legitimately show everyone fully transparent that I can make $10 million off of one fucking stock. How cool would that be? Maybe my channel will go to 7,000 people from 5,000. Right, like, in my mind, because YouTube don't like me for whatever reason. They don't like me making a lot of money and being transparent. That doesn't work on YouTube to grow a channel, guys. So
wait, you're saying, so by what year? By 2026, the stock price would have to be
June
where?
2026.
June of 20. So this is June 2026. So you're saying that, like, right here, we need to be at $45.
For this dude to get, I don't know, they'll speak more on it, but I want to say something like $300 million or something ridiculous.
There's 3 tranches of performance-related stock units that unlock if the stock holds, I think, for 90 days or something like that at that time period. And the first tranche is $25, and the last tranche is $45, and the middle one is $35.
So it's a 465% return from here if he hits those metrics. And
if he hits the highest one?
Yeah, if it's $46. That's okay. And you guys believe that that's going to happen?
I don't know.
Dude, the way that I looked at it, guys, is I looked at his resume. I looked at, okay, this dude, we all know the Anthony Noto story, right? Especially, Chris and Travis that cover this shit ad nauseum. I mean, he's got the resume of resumes that he essentially was in a position to pick just about any job that he wanted. And he saw something there. And I'm just betting on this dude being a lot smarter than me. And he's not going to talk about opportunity cost. He has a lot of opportunity cost. Because he could be doing everything else, but he chose SoFi because he saw something there that they could take market share. And And they went through all this shit to where they took away their bread and butter, which was student loans. And that ended up being the biggest blessing in disguise, because SoFi fundamentally is a much stronger company than they are right now. And everybody's so fixated on the stock, as am I, because I play price square, selling puts and calls all the time. But dude, if fundamentally the company keeps performing and hitting on all of their metrics, it's just a matter of time before the stock follows. I believe that's my experience in the stock market. So that's my bet. But that being said, because, y'all talk about it being overvalued, undervalued, whatever the case may be, depending on what side of the fence you're on. The one thing is the float is kind of big. So if there's one thing that does give me cause to pause a little bit is, they have printed quite a bit of shares since they were IPOE.
Guys,
so
how much
does know the dynamics of that, because I don't sit there and do discount cash flow models and all this other fucking shit. I'm not that bored, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. So I'd like for the smarter people to talk on that. But my bet is on Anthony Noto going to get paid, or TJ the Wheel Deal going to upgrade his house and car and everything else along with Anthony Noto. And fuck that, because he was a free lunch money kid, and so was I, and now we're not. So that's it in a nutshell.
I actually have a question for Chris. I mean, so I was actually watching this person on YouTube do an analysis on SoFi, and this person he was a financial analyst, right? So what he did his numbers, he looked at the market price, all that stuff, and what he basically said is, I don't understand why this stock is still down. Like, he doesn't understand it because they're obviously showing growth, user base, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So what him being a financial analyst, he goes, maybe it's because of the way financial analysts are staying away from the stock, right? Because it's SoFi Technologies, right? So you have financial analysts that specialize in analyzing banks that stay away from SoFi because they see it as a technology company, right? And then on the other hand, financial analysts who focus on tech stocks stay away from SoFi because they think it's just a bank stock. I'm sure we've heard all that before, right? Do you think that has something to do with why it's been very stagnant?
Wait, before you do, can I just tack on something to add on to that? How much does it hurt SoFi that they're not involved in crypto? Because that's how does that play into SoFi's stock price right now?
All right, so we'll cover the analyst question real quick, and then I'll talk about my thoughts on SoFi and crypto. So as far as the analyst question, I think you're right that like a lot of the bearish analysts, some of them do extremely good work, and on the stuff that they focus on. The thing is that most of the bearish analysts on SoFi are like laser focused on their accounting. Like you get pages and pages, so it's like it'll be like a 10-page update on whatever the stock is, and 9.5 pages of it will be on fair value accounting of the loans that they hold on their book, and like everything. So it's interesting because the way that they look at the company, I feel like it's missing the forest for the trees, a lot of them. And so like, to me, the story is like, if you look at SoFi 3 years ago and you look at them now, they have 3.5 times as many members as they did. They call their customers members, right? People who use the platform. And like, to me, that's the main growth story. So if they can they're going to find ways to monetize the user base that they have. That what they're trying to do is build an ecosystem that, and generally people who, when you make somebody your primary bank, you stay with them for 15 to 16 years on average. That is a very long time to monetize these people. And like, all of this discussion about fair values and what the discount rate should be and how many, like all of these, like, it's just this laser focus on this tiny little piece of the business that is getting smaller each and every single quarter, and is being proven out more each and every quarter. Because for a while they weren't selling loans because rates were jumping, but they've actually been selling like more than $1 billion of loans for or 3 quarters in a row now, and all of the sales that they've done have been above the fair value mark. So everybody's like, oh, they're cooking the books. Like, you can just, the point of a fair value is to say this is what we would sell it for on the open market, and then they went out and they sold stuff on the open market, and it's more than what they're claiming for their fair values. So they're like, there's all this debate and stuff, and I think that, like, realistically, the only remaining bear case that makes sense is that it will always be priced as a bank, because right now it certainly is, right? Like, it's a, call it 2x tangible book value. It's actually, so tangible book value is 392 or something like that, right? So it's like 1.8x tangible book value, which I think is insane for a company that has grown at like 40-50% CAGR for the last 5 years. That's nuts to me. But the truth is that the market disagrees with me. The market thinks that this is a stock right now that isn't worth more than 1.8x its tangible book value, what you could sell its assets for today, and that all that growth and all of that and all of those customers that have been brought on and everything else is not being priced in. That's my opinion, and I don't know why, but that's kind of that's part of it. So, and then Tevis, you can talk about that if you want to. I'll move to crypto real quick. So SoFi was forced out of crypto, right? So they had a decision to make. They wanted to get a bank charter. In order to get the bank charter, the OCC, which is like the people who control banks, said, hey, you've got to divest all of your crypto stuff in the next 2 years. They eventually did that. I don't like it, but they were forced to, right? Like, this was outside of their control. But the truth of the matter is that Anthony Noto, again, who's the CEO, he holds actually quite a bit of crypto. Yeah. Like, personally, he holds Bitcoin, he holds Ethereum. He's been on crypto podcasts in the past. He had his own podcast, and he brought like 2 or 3 other crypto people onto that podcast. Even after they've divested from their crypto holdings, he went on a podcast with Kathy Woods, who everybody loves to hate. But like, he went on her podcast and they talked about crypto, and like, my opinion, I think it does hurt them that they're not involved in crypto. I don't think that was a choice they wanted to make. It was a choice they were forced to make. And if you were to say, have a little bit of a crypto business or be able to be a bank, being a bank was the right decision, because that, like, their whole business model.
You think that was the right decision?
I think so, because they were, yes, is the short answer. But I think if the SEC and the OCC can figure out their crap, and they can actually make this a regulated thing so that they allow people to hold, if they allow people to hold crypto, I am 100% certain that SoFi will be among the very first banks that offer it on their platform. Because and he's basically said that. He said, if this was a regulated thing and the SEC was allowing us to offer it, we would offer it tomorrow, is essentially his position on this. And I also think that he has talked to people in the past who give out, like, this is something that you've talked about, right? That take loans, for example, on their crypto holding. He's spoken about things like that positively.
That was what we were communicating, that would be game changing.
I think it would be game changing if they allowed you to take like a margin loan on your crypto holdings. Right. That would be awesome. That's something that nobody else does. And
you know how bullish that would be for Bitcoin? That would mean you have access to the liquidity without having to sell. It would eliminate a lot of the sell pressure for people, especially in these bull run years.
And this is just me, like, this is my opinion, right? They haven't come out and said this is something we would offer, but he's talked on his podcast about these types of products. He's talked about, and he is individually pro crypto, and he knows that it's something that the people who use his platform want. And so it's out of their hands at this point, right? Like, as long as the SEC doesn't figure itself out, they can't do anything about it. I think as soon as they do that, they'll be one of the first banks to adopt it in a positive way. But that's the reality of the situation.
Can SoFi hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet and pull like a Michael Saylor?
I have no idea.
Shares by Bitcoin, and
they might get their banking license taken away. I have no idea, but
so many.
Go ahead, Tevis.
Yeah, maybe just to add a couple of points here. I think just to zoom back out, what we're seeing with SoFi is that the numbers are amazing. I mean, revenues over 20%. They're profitable now. This is going to be their 4th quarter of profitability. Execution is amazing. Management incentives are aligned with what TJ was saying. Management is taking a higher equity piece if they can hit those targets. And I mean, the most famous example of that is Elon doing it. Now rate cuts are coming, so you have a macro tailwind, and the market is totally discounting it. Analysts, for the most part, are banking analysts that completely discount the non-banking, non-lending sides of SoFi's business. And so you have this business now where if you just go to look at SoFi versus, what they report versus what analysts are expecting, they've triple beat for the last like 3 years in a row, something like that. They haven't had a single quarter where they haven't triple beat. And the reason why is because SoFi sandbags their own guidance numbers. I mean, Noto has been with Goldman Sachs for his entire career. He knows how the game's played. But analysts, because they're banking analysts, they take SoFi's guidance and then they make a range. Like they put that as the midpoint and then they make a range based on that. And a lot of them are at the bottom of that range. So they're sandbagging SoFi's own guidance, which we know is sandbagged. And so SoFi has these extravagant beats. And you extrapolate that out to 2026. I mean, what's the number? Like 80 cents EPS is what they're tracking for internally. That number is going to get raised. And I think that just going back to why SoFi has not caught a bid yet, it's because I think the banking narrative keeps it very low. The banking narrative here, the bank charter, explains why other companies can command a higher multiple under this like fintech hybrid narrative umbrella. But SoFi trades super closely to a bank, like in terms of stock price action. I mean, like Truist and others is what I'm comparing. The difference is that they have this financial services segment that's growing like 80% a year. And as a percentage of that revenue mix, that financial services segment is going to be larger and larger. And so you pair that now with a very large short interest, 18% short interest, and now their fourth quarter of profitability is coming up. And you have this complete lack of awareness from analysts who are like traditional bank analysts. And then you pair that with the rate cuts that are coming where SoFi is going to dually benefit because on one side, it's a small cap and you have all these money market funds flowing back into risk on, small caps. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, they have student loans and home loans, which are going to really lift in originations. And so all of that together explains essentially why I'm still buying SoFi is because it feels as though you're still early days in terms of what that alpha is between what the company is doing and what the market is seeing. And so it's only a matter of time, at least in my mind, for those two things to come to a parity. And obviously I could be wrong and, opportunity cost is a real thing, whatnot. But just that financial services segment growing so much and just the fact that we're going into a rate cut environment in 2025 and the fact that analysts are nowhere near 80 cents EPS for 2026 and management is really incentivized to get the stock high. Like, I think we're going to have a tipping point in SoFi stock at some point over the next 12 to 24 months until we get to that June 2026.
So you're going to say years. Over the next 12 to 25 years, there's going to be
but like
good times.
$10. Management is incentive. Like, dude, Anthony Noto is going to care for his own wallet. And if he stands to make 300 million, and if TJ stands to make, 10 million, TJ will take it. He'll go on that ride because you have
Vegas, baby.
Yeah, you have this guy who's just like, hey, I'm gonna control my own destiny to get to that number. And if he does it, and if we get to $45, then God bless him. Let him get that bag. So my point is that it seems as though all of the business segments are firing on all cylinders, and you're reaching this inflection point that whether it's 2025, whether it's next month, I don't know when that's going to be. But there's going to come a point where SoFi gets re-rated, not as a pure bank, but the financial services segment and maybe the technology platform give it a hybrid valuation because you cannot ignore a segment that's growing 80% a year. Like, how long can you?
But the market. But the point is, they are ignoring it. I mean,
today, yeah, but how long can they still ignore it for?
Well, okay, then here's my question. I like to use this question because it puts things in perspective for like the big SoFi bulls here. What's the headline? What is the headline the morning after when SoFi, jumps 10, 15%? What is the headline what does that say?
We finally have more information with regards to the technology platform, something that has not been grown that fast, and we barely get information about it.
So you think it's Galileo?
I think if you're called SoFi Technologies and the technology side of things, you're not getting a lot of details. I mean, call it SoFi Bank.
Right.
Agreed. No, but for real,
you think it's a branding, like it's a branding problem?
No, it's sentiment. It's high interest rates. It's maybe branded as only lending, but it's not just lending anymore. It's much more than that. But no, the technology side of things, I think, could grow much more.
I mean, do you guys like the app? You guys, I'm sure you have money in SoFi. Like,
I'm the only one I think who uses it.
It's not. I use it, and I don't know. It's nice. I kind of like the interface. It's nice. It almost seems gamified. But I gotta say, I like Robinhood's UI better. Now they're different, right? One's a brokerage, one's a bank, but there's something about Robinhood's app that just makes you want to use it. It seems real intuitive. It's like when Snapchat came out.
SoFi has a brokerage, and they haven't done anything to make me want to help. I mean, I have,
like would you put your
I have 75 shares of SoFi on the brokerage because I've gotten them from using the credit card.
Right.
So they're like redeem. You're able to redeem or whatever it works, and I figured out when I think about it because I get a reminder, and somehow I've accumulated 75 shares on there, but I look at it and it's hard to even place trades. Like it's like a 3 or 4 step process versus Robinhood's a lot more seamless. I just don't understand why they haven't duplicated the brokerage side of Robinhood so that it would be more compelling to legitimately become a one-stop shop, because they have what Robinhood doesn't have, which is a bank chart.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a lot easier for SoFi to become Robinhood than Robinhood to become SoFi, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's true.
Because they're not handing out those bank charters. And I think that bank charter, SoFi grabbed one of the last ones. They did a lot of hocus pocus, abracadabra shit when they did that, guys. I'm just saying, like, SoFi doesn't get a lot of credit for the maneuvering that they've done over the last couple of years. Like, that bank charter was a fucking feather in Anthony Noto's cap.
He wanted
because
that.
I was so going to be out of that shit if they didn't land that bank charter. No, I mean, what? Am I lying? You guys aren't going to be in it
completely.
either.
I completely agree.
You too, Chris?
Like if they wouldn't have gotten the bank charter,
Yeah.
it would have. They wouldn't have been able to do what they've done. I do think so. I think Robinhood's UI and UX is better, right? Like, but they're trying to do different things and they're trying to accomplish different things. And like my user experience as a bank user for SoFi is so much better than like. So I banked with I had accounts with Wells Fargo and with Chase and with other things. And like the reason that I actually invested in SoFi is because I had such a bad experience like going into a branch for some stupid thing that I had to do that I whined about it at work one time. And one of my coworkers was like, "Hey, you should check out this SoFi thing." This was back in 2020, right? And I used it and I was like, this is just so much better. Why? Like there should have been digital only banks that were this easy to use previously. Now, is it easy to use as an investor? No, right? But actually as a bank, for me, the experience was way better just as like an everyday banking experience than having to deal with any of the ones that I do.
But I mean, that's a pretty low bar, dude.
It is a low bar, but that's why they can take so much market share.
It's
yeah,
like,
that's the point.
Come on, you know what I mean? Like, why don't they just take some of that money and take a little bit of money they're giving Noto and just hire the best UI designers ever and just steamroll that shit, make it the best, smoothest app possible.
I don't know. I wish they
did.
You
don't have to change anything else.
They do have to put
just
in
the way it's presented. It's kind of a clunky, flat feeling app. It doesn't feel like vibrant. It doesn't feel, I don't know. It feels like an old like web app. It doesn't feel like the newer style like native apps. That's just for me using it. Yeah. It's just I basically just park money there and then transfer it over. I mean, it's just a depository at this point. So
and it's strange, no? Because they own Galileo, which is supposed to modernize legacy systems, right?
Yeah. And then how much of an effect do you like? Noto's a pretty neutral, vanilla kind of guy. How much do you think? I mean, people invest in CEOs. You can see that. I mean, Tesla, Elon is, at the same time mooning the stock, and other people would say tanking the stock, right? But people do invest in the CEO. Do you like? Is Noto the kind of guy where you feel like, yeah, I'm going to give him? I mean, unless you're TJ, you gave him $1 million plus. But you're just renting for a bit. It's like a house for you. You got a plot of land on the SoFi real estate, but like, how much of that is Noto not necessarily being, either a controversial or like an outspoken CEO, like an Alex Karp, like an Elon Musk?
I think it's interesting, Carlos, that you mentioned he's like a vanilla guy. I think there's a lot of stuff that he can't really say because of the space that he's in. But at least for myself, and I'd love to hear Chris's thoughts as well, like that cover the stock like on a weekly basis, it's very clear that he's definitely frustrated with how the market is perceiving the stock. Yeah. Like just his closing remarks on the last earnings call, he was just like, an analyst asked the question. He's like, what does it matter? It's not like the market's going to respect us anyway, regardless of how well we execute. And he does have a proven track record of consistently executing, he does say, I mean, I think the CNBC interview last month was fairly controversial, where he was like, we're basically rooting for the Republicans to win. We think our business is going to do better under that administration.
So if he comes out with a MAGA hat, at the next, like, is that good for him?
You can't just go full Elon, because you're going to alienate people like that. It's not that type of business. But my point is that, like, he, within the restrictions that he has given his industry, I think he's fairly, like, it's personal for him, and you can tell that it's personal.
When you've got that kind of compensation package, he wants to see it happen.
Sure.
Yeah. Anthony Noto is he's one of the reasons that I'm invested in the stock. He is, by all accounts, an extremely upstanding individual. He's been successful in everything that he's done. He is an incredibly hard worker. He cares about people. He's a big culture guy. I actually think that he's actually much more, I would guess, based on the things that like SoFi does culturally and their stances on things like when Roe v. Wade was overturned and that sort of stuff, they would pay for like employees to go to other states in order to have abortions if needed, that sort of thing. I would guess actually that he's left leaning. But I don't know, like just based on what I've talked about. Right. But that's not like, that doesn't matter to me, right? Like he's not going to be, I like the go full Elon. He's not going to go full Elon. Very few people can go full Elon. I don't even know if Elon
can go full Elon.
Right. And he, like, but Anthony Noto, like as far as an execution piece goes, as far as a person that I feel very comfortable investing in a business that's run by him, like, and like Tevis actually said, Noto definitely lifts, bro. He's a former Army Ranger, right?
He's in the military.
He's doing. I'm pretty sure he could crush me in any sort of physical altercation or battle.
But does he lift? You see that? You see that guy?
I'm sure he lifts.
Does he lift, bro?
But like I feel very comfortable putting my money in something that's, and the other thing is, like, you look at the execution level. So we're talking about a business that should have died twice. It should have died when they took away the student loans. Like it should have been absolutely, like, in 2019, right? Like 70% plus of their revenue comes from student loans. That got cut out from under them. Wasn't their fault, right? Like it nobody plans on a global pandemic and then them taking away student loans. Like that's a black swan, especially when it is like, this is the equivalent of tomorrow the federal government starting to give away free shoes to everybody in the US, and what happens to Nike from there. And what happened to Nike from there is, you fast forward 3-4 years, and now they've quadrupled their revenue, right? Like imagine that tomorrow the government gives away free shoes, and you fast forward 4 years and Nike has 4x their revenue. That's ridiculous. That is some crazy execution. And that's what SoFi pulled off.
They sold sandals, right?
Right? Exactly. They started throwing sandals. No, but like, and then you had the rate hike cycle, which again should have killed them as a fintech, right? You look at Upstart, you look at Lending Club, you look at everybody else who's in the space. All of them all of their revenue went down by over 50%. And in the same time, SoFi's like doubled or tripled their revenue. So there were the two big, if you could tailor make the most difficult macro environments for SoFi to go through, it would be, number one, have a student loan moratorium that cuts you out your biggest business, and number two, a rate hike cycle for the ages.
I thought they were done, honestly.
That. Like they should have been done. That's the thing.
I thought they were done. I was like, oh, they're done. They can't. Oh, they're done.
And instead, they grew the business. They've always, like, their revenue just keeps going up and to the right. Their profitability just keeps going up and to the right. Like the macro has thrown every piece of crap that they can at them, and now it's starting to turn. And somehow people think that they're not going to be able to execute in a good environment. And it's just it's bonkers to me. It is. Anyway, that's why I feel very comfortable putting my money in SoFi and with Anthony Noto. The dude is a killer internally. He's not going to come out on an interview and say something controversial, but the dude is a straight killer.
So Chris, just for me to sum this up with a question. So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yes.
Right. So Shane just sent me this from the background. If anyone doesn't know, by the way, hit like and subscribe if you haven't, and if you would be so obliged, please support the channel on Patreon. Part of what I'm trying to do is be able to pay this guy. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Just do a shameless plug. But fuck it, it's all fucked up. Yeah, if you can, there's a link below. You can support us on Patreon. Part of what I'm trying this, to keep the channel going, but part of it also is to be able to pay Shane. I'm going to bring you on for a quick second. I hope you're wearing clothes. Where is he? There he is.
He's there.
Shane. Shane's in the background doing some links. He's keeping me on track, on target here, and he just sent me a link to an interview with our boy Noto. Should we listen to a few seconds of this? Is this worth it? You guys seen this one? SoFi CEO Anthony Noto on the state of the economy, products offering, and outlook growth. Maybe we can watch a little bit of it in 2-speed.
Oh, this is the Republican thing at the very end.
Is that it's at the end?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think he's at the right spot.
At the halfway point.
Halfway point. Let me hear this. I didn't hear this.
Changes and sort of the whole appeals process and the outcomes impacting your business going forward.
Yeah, we've really focused on people that have private student loans. Those are people that are still managing their costs and giving them cost savings on refinancing their private student loans, and that's been a smart strategy. It's a much smaller percent of our business.
Further or no?
Gave guidance that we'll do close to $2.5 billion of revenue this year. We'll see really strong growth from other
around
businesses. So we're much less
3/4
dependent
the
on it.
Republican
The fact
thing.
that we grew 20 has been consistent. Our execution has been consistent. Ours of revenue. We weren't generous. I'm really pleased with what we're doing. It's hard because the uncertainty around it moving in the right direction.
And what about AI? Will SoFi be the one to bring AI to retail banking, and will that really accelerate your results?
Yeah, there's a whole spectrum of technologies that we use every day to ensure that our product is safe, it's reliable, and we can be a trusted partner. Where we want to use AI is to fortify those areas, but we also want to use it to answer 3 questions every day. Because this is a financial show and we operate in a financial world, people want to talk about interest rates and consumer spending. We don't spend a ton of time talking about the product, but we are a product company, and my vision for the product is that you open up SoFi every day and you go to your member home feed just like you would to your Twitter home feed or your Facebook home feed or LinkedIn home feed, but we answer 3 questions for you in a personalized way. What must you do in your financial life that day? What should you do and what can you do? AI allows us to take all the data about you and everyone else and answer those 3 questions.
Just a final question about politics, because I know the conversation about the presidential election is front and center here in Sun Valley. What outcome do you think would be best for the economy and for your business in particular?
Well, I'll make an analogy. I went to West Point and I played football, and I want Navy to win 364 days of the year. But on that one day when they play Army, I want Army to win. And so I'd be lying to you and being, less than disingenuous if I didn't say our business would benefit from a Republican administration. There's more capital markets activity. There's more M&A activity. I want our country to be very strong and vibrant. And on one particular day, I'll be rooting for one particular party.
Interesting. So there you have it. I like him.
I feel like he just said he's liberal, but he needs the Republicans because it's better for the stock price. Is that what I heard? Or am I just
better for business.
In terms of business, he's conservative, but maybe his personal views are more liberal.
Yeah.
You can tell. But it's funny. Even I haven't seen an interview from him for a while. He is really personable. Like I could see, he seems like a good, solid CEO. Got his head on his shoulders. The AI thing was interesting. I hadn't really considered what they're doing in the AI space, and that's got to be part of the bull case going forward.
Should watch Tevis's video of the Galileo CEO. Talks about what Galileo does on the personalized level. Pretty good.
With all that stuff, the AI and the Galileo stuff, so I've been listening to, they've actually started to put out podcasts that are really interesting, and I feel like I actually understand what's going on there way better than I have in the past. My personal opinion on the tech platform right now is it's in show me mode. Like, I need to see some results. I need to see some changes in the app. I need to see some growth. And I need to, like, they've been talking a big game on that one for a while, and they have yet, like, I want to see it before I actually buy in and say, this is the future. This is the AWS of finance, right? Like they need to actually execute. And I think it's within their capability. I think that Derek White, who's the CEO of Galileo, has it in him to do it, but they need to do it. Like the rest of the business, they've executed excellent. The tech platform, it's really opaque, like Neil was saying earlier. Like it's really hard to get any sort of information out of there. They don't publish very much about it. I would love to see more transparency, but more than anything else, like at this point, they've got to execute.
Look, man, they have 3 segments, okay? They have lending, they have financial services, and they have the tech platform. And I think you can plot those 3 segments out linearly across a short, medium, and long time frame. Because in the short term, with rate cuts, the lending segment is going to benefit with regards to student loans and home loans catching a bid. And then in the medium term, over the next 2 years, financial services is going to benefit because they're growing 80% a year. Thanks, DJ.
Thanks, PJ.
Appreciate you guys, man. Much love. Good luck to everybody. Blue skies, green stocks, guys.
There you go.
And so, right, like over the next 12 months, rate cuts are going to lead to surges in originations for lending. over the next 24 to 36 months, 2 to 3 years, financial services is growing 80% a year. Just compound that out and you're going to get the crazy numbers, right? Their goal for the end of this year is to have a 50-50 split where 50% of revenue comes from lending and then 50% of revenue comes from the combined 2 other segments. I think that in 2 years or 3 years, you could see a world where financial services becomes their largest individual segment and even like 2/3 of their entire business if you compound this out over that time frame. And then the tech platform really is a long-term play because that's the multiple expansion play around if they do become this AWS of fintech, if they do power all the other, legacy financial institutions, then you're adding another like layer of multiples that this thing can expand to in terms of the total addressable market that it can capture. But that's something that, again, to Chris's point, it isn't show me mode, but we're only seeing the initial, inklings of that right now. We're not at that point where tech platform is just going to dominate everything else because it has a longer ramp up time that it needs to essentially advance.
And you guys got me thinking about buying some long dated calls. I gotta say, at these levels, with that as like a compensation package, like it's not a lot of money to go down with the ship.
I might have done that on the Black Monday when it dropped to $6.
That's what I'm thinking about. Any final thoughts on SoFi?
Yeah, no, even this year guidance is strange, right? Because you guys, we've calculated, because Q4 is expected to be lower than Q3 revenue, right? If we take the full year guidance right now,
yeah, it
doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
wouldn't that have to do with the rate cuts coming in September? Which now they're saying it's going to be 50, and they're saying we might get a full point by the end of the year. Because what they don't want to do is if they've cut too early and they have to then raise again, it's fucked. But with the jobs number, it looks like we'll maybe get 50 points in September, and then maybe another quarter point here and there. So we could actually see a full point by the end of the year. So I would say, yes, there's always a pent-up demand, right? The rates cuts come in September. All that money gets loaded in Q3. And then, if we get 50 points in September, a 25 basis point cut later in the year won't be as
because lower rates will probably be a benefit for them as well. They said they can keep their own rates higher to attract more members on the platform. So it's a win-win. It's a broken stock, not a broken company. And been saying this for a while. People can laugh. Our bags are heavy. Our arms are bulking up. So it's all good.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's getting diesel. Leaps are cheap right now. Hop on the TJ chain. Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm going to be looking into that on Monday. Oh, wow. We went a little over today. Appreciate it. I don't know how you guys have another couple of minutes, an hour and 15. Well, we just hit 200 people. Wow. Awesome. Thanks so much, 200 people watching this. Just as a side note, you wanted to end on this. I had a bunch of other topics, but what's your guys' relationship with your dad?
I can start. I got a great relationship with my dad. This will bookend the conversation for me. So my dad actually competed at the same Olympics that I did.
Dude, this is fucking crazy.
So it was the first time that a father and son ever competed in the same event at the same Olympics. So I have an awesome relationship with my dad. So my dad is he's a really unique individual because his parents are German, but he grew up in Venezuela. So he's got this mixing those two cultures is really strange.
Yeah.
And so but he is the hardest working person probably I've ever met in my life. That's why he's been ridiculously successful in gymnastics and then for later on in his career and everything else. And he set just an awesome example for us as kids, how to treat your wife, how to be a man of honor, and how to work so hard and earn the things that you have. And I still I value his.
We lost you. You're muted. Unmute yourself. There you go.
My headphones just died. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, but he's been I still really value his advice and what he everything that he tells me. We talk pretty often. Anyway, I've got a great relationship with my dad, and he's an amazing person. I really look to him.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. You got that. I mean, the reason I asked is I spoke to my dad right before we got on the phone. I spoke to my dad. I don't talk to him very much. I guess you could say he's a bit estranged. And my dad is he's one of those guys that never hit his potential. And I see now I look back and there was like 2 or 3 major financial decisions that he made the wrong way. And they were like roughly around the age that I'm maybe younger. And it's crazy to me how 1 or 2 like bad financial decisions, you end up just playing that out for the rest of your life, where you can be someone like your dad and be able to give that sort of good financial advice and set that good example. But it just made me a little sad before I got on the podcast today, because I'm a father, I have 2 kids, and I want to be that guy. Like, I would love my kids to speak about me the way that you're talking about your dad, Chris. And so it's tough for me. I feel a lot of pressure to not make the same mistakes that my dad did, but also sort of set a good example. And I just wonder, like, this is a really sort of unique community that we've got building here. And so I was just curious what the role is that your fathers play, because I consider all you guys like good, solid men. These are we're like good, solid men trying to do the right thing. That's at least how I consider myself. But I didn't have that father figure growing up, so I feel like it's been a little bit harder. But that's why I'm curious. Like, how did you guys, become the solid, responsible gentlemen that you guys are right now, thinking about these sorts of things on a Saturday at 3 p.m. when there's a lot of other distractions to go around? Heinze?
Okay, I'll go. So a little bit about me. I actually lost my real dad, my biological dad, when I was 1. So that was tough. Yeah. So
oh man.
Yeah. So going back with what you guys said and what Chris said is, I don't think, especially now in society, and I don't mean this to be a red pill moment, but I don't think people realize how important having a father in the household is, right? So actually, with me thinking that losing my dad when I was 1, I mean, growing up in a very poor country like the Philippines, right?
Yeah.
We were not like poor, but we weren't like rich either, right?
Middle.
So pretty much the odds were already stacked against me, because with with a father out of the household, my mom's gonna have to pull the work, do the work and be the father-ish type figure. So but growing up, when I moved here, and I moved here around when I was 7. I was lucky enough to pretty much be mentored by father figures. So I have had 2 stepdads. One of the most important things that they've taught me is, one is hard work and discipline, right? And a little bit of my mom too. My mom was a little bit of a tiger mom. She, at 4, she would
had to be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, at 4 years old, she was telling me, like, yeah, Heinz, if you don't make money, no girl's gonna marry you, right? I mean, at 4 years old,
she wasn't lying.
No, and that's true. I mean, if you're really looking at the dynamics now with, how many men are really struggling, like it really puts in reflection of how important being a responsible male figure in your household is. So that's pretty much how where I learned my discipline, my hard work, was different father figures. And I also had an older brother, so that helped a little bit too.
That's an interesting story. I did not know that. It's crazy to think that you lost your dad. Why? You mind me asking? How did you lose him?
Cancer. Yeah, cancer. And
shit.
the irony was, my stepdad also died from the same cancer. So it's been tough. But it is what it is. But I don't remember them as that. I mean, even my father too, because my biological father, how my brother grew up, being a responsible person, I know that my biological dad was able to discipline him properly. So he didn't get that with me, obviously, because I was still 1. But with my stepfathers, I don't even like that word, to be honest. But
right.
They were able to pretty much prep me for the real world. So I'm forever thankful for that.
What about you guys, Tevis, Neil?
Yeah, I can go. I have a great relationship with my dad. I mean, it's interesting just growing up.
Do you talk to him about stocks and investing? And does he know about your channel? Like, does he know?
He knows about my channel. He asks about stuff.
trolling in the chat.
I got him on Twitter recently.
And
he never used Twitter, and so now he uses Twitter. And
shit.
like he called me the other week, and he's like, "How's your portfolio doing? I heard the stock market crashed on Monday." And I'm like, "Okay, you're in." Because so he's
like, the leaps you had me buy.
no, so he doesn't
tanking.
He's like just an immigrant family, right? He's been an entrepreneur like his whole life. He's always owned businesses. He's never like really worked for someone other than himself. And that's really interesting to me because there was always this idea of risk taking and calculated risk taking in the household. And it led to a lot of just great conversation, debates, discussions around the dinner table all throughout growing up, like around every topic, like politics, business, but he was never in equities. And so he always did like the real estate thing, bought, sold. And but risk averse when it comes to the stock market because he just doesn't understand it. Like he doesn't get it. He thinks it's like a big, like not outright saying it's a Ponzi scheme, but he just doesn't like, he's never done it before. Right. I think that, the thing with him is that there's a lot of interesting parallels because his dad died young. His dad died when he was 16. And so I think a lot of the experiences that I have with him, he's getting to experience that for the first time on the other side, of the equation. And then, like the relationship changes because earlier on he was so gung-ho about, my career. He was like, hey, get a good job, get a good career, study hard and this type of stuff. And now, like, I think I'm well ahead in my career. And
How old are you?
I just turned 30.
Wow, you're young.
So I focused quite a bit on it. And now
you're the baby. Holy shit, right? We're all older than 30.
And
I also turned.
Get off my lawn.
I'm old at heart, man. I'm a crusty old man at heart. But like now that I'm like into my career and I focus on like I work 7 days a week and I just focus on my own thing. He's like, slow down, like focus on starting a family. Like he's completely changed his tune on all of that stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting. Like you're just going through a lot of these cycles and seeing parallels of how they did. Like for him, like he had a business and he had a kid. Like he had me when I was 26, and so he had like a full family by the time he was 30. And so it's just completely
different mind melt or mindset generationally. And I can see the value to that actually. Like before I had kids, everyone told me once you have kids, you're going to wish you had them sooner. And that's totally true. I didn't start having kids till I was in my 40s. And I'm like, man, it'd be great if they saw me when I was doing, the Tough Mudders back, back 10 years ago and stuff. But whatever, they get the dad that they've got, What about you, Neil? Were you born and raised, always lived in Belgium?
Yeah, born and raised in Belgium. By the way, I also turned 30, so I don't have kids yet.
These young motherfucking rich guys, ladies in the chat, like, yo, what the?
Yeah.
All right. So born and raised out there. Mom, dad,
love them. Love my brother. Love my sister, grandmother. Everyone gets a call every week. Me, WhatsApp messages every day. It's a bit of the same way with Tevis. How he ended his thing. Like right now, it's a lot. Yeah, start a family, this and that. Find yourself a good wife. Start a family. And before it was more about go study, work, etc., etc. And now I'm in the mindset of, look, I'm 30. In my mind, I'm like, I want to work super hard right now. So 10 years from now, when I have kids and stuff like that, they'll be secured. I've been secured all my life because of the hard work of my father. So I want to do the same thing for the kids, the eventual ones.
Right.
In the future.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny. I started my kids' college fund when I was like in my 20s. Just as like a mental thing, would throw a couple of bucks in there and people would look like it was old share builder portfolio. And I was like, eventually I took it out. I rolled it into something else, but I started it and I just started putting money away for these kids. And they seem, what's the word? Like they seem like unreal. It just seems like almost silly to be talking about it. But then one day they're just real and they're a part of your life in a way that you couldn't imagine without it. It'd be really, really cool when you guys finally settled down. So I was waiting to see if our boy Chris would come back. He tried to pop back on. I think he's having some technical problems, but I think we could call it right there. I could go on and on how inflation robs energy. I got a whole bunch of other topics here, but I think we can end it there.
Talk about Uber also.
Yeah, talk about the demise of Uber. But you know what? Maybe we wait till we get a little closer, or right after the Robotaxi event, the 10/10 event that's coming up real soon. Which it's quiet right now, but I think that's going to send some serious waves through Tesla stock, as well as like the market in general, as they wake up and realize what this thing's going to be. So that's a conversation I look forward to. But it's all theoretical now. I think everything that's been said about it has been said, and I think we need some more information now. But I'm looking forward to it.
I think Uber will survive, even though I'm a super.
I'll take the other side of that bet. We just got to settle on the time frame, but I would take the other side of that bet. I actually, real quick, I posted this the other day. Let me see if I can find it, and then we can end on this. Here it is. Share, and maybe we'll pin this, and we'll start this. We could start a conversation about this when we eventually have this conversation. This is my theory. Uber is the iPod of rideshare. The iPod was a great product that sold massive units until the iPhone came out, and then the iPod was reduced to an app. iPod sales plummeted as users adopted the iPhone, and because customers never looked back. Same here. They have a great service that will simply not make sense for customers once Tesla's robo network is live. It'll be cheaper for the customer, more profitable for the supervisors of FSD, and truly scalable, unlike Cruise. Restaurants will create a system to deliver food on Tesla's network. Retail chains will also create systems to deliver goods using Tesla's rideshare. People will use it to transport children and the elderly safely. Airports will accommodate Tesla's Robotaxi network. This is the death spiral. In my opinion, they're screwed either way.
I do think it's a matter of time frame, though, because
it's not a 2-year thing.
The fear and hesitation of people out there to try something new, like to essentially put their life on the line by letting this Robotaxi drive them around.
Yeah.
It's going to have a novel effect for some early adopters, but it's going to be something like my mom would never hop on a Robotaxi, for example, like ever, if you paid her.
Even in a cruise right now, even in a cruise?
No. But you have some random dude that she's never met in an Uber, and she's like, okay, cool, like let me Uber there. And so it's just a mental hurdle.
The sentiment behind that will change, because look, Uber has had issues with that.
It'll take a long time.
No, that's why I mean the Cruise Uber thing makes sense for both companies. One, on Uber, people can now get exposed to autonomous vehicles. So in the future, when more and more autonomous vehicles are on the roads, you already have, let's say, experienced
exposure to it, right?
Yeah, exposure via the Uber app. Plus, Cruise gets maybe more data because more people can use it. I had my first FSD ride when I was in the States in July. It was amazing.
Yeah,
it was crazy. But again, from a consumer's perspective, I know we as Tesla folks, we talk about LiDAR, pure vision, etc., etc. But from a pure user perspective, they don't care. As long as they go from point A to point B, a 5-minute ride, 10-minute ride, they don't care if they're in a Waymo, in a Cruise, or in a Tesla. If it costs you $2, $1, they don't care.
That's my point. It's like what Apple can do. Uber needs to make money on the rideshare. Tesla could lose money on this while they just go and gain market share and undercut the competitors. I mean, so there are some inherent advantages, and they own the vehicle, they own the software. There's a lot of levers that they can pull. But
Uber doesn't need to own the vehicles; it just owns the app, the platform. Plus, it puts advertising on top because it's already at $1 billion. I think it can make more money than Cruise and Waymo because they have to buy and build the cars and etc. etc. Uber will purely be the distribution channel, because it's Uber and has years and years of a good track record. That's just my opinion.
Well, I'd love to drill down into that. That's a longer conversation. I still want to see if we can get.
I came on here, we talked about this exact thing.
We've talked. Yeah, I know. We had an argument about this. I'd like to see if I can get Warren or like a Farzad or somebody to weigh in, and then maybe get somebody on the other side just to get the other opinions. But so with that, we'll call it. We'll say, yeah, stay tuned. Finance Junkies is back, and it's here to say big things coming. Thank you, guys. Thank you to how many people we got here? How many people stuck with us through the end? Did we lose anybody when we start talking about dads? Okay, we got 171 people. Thank you for everyone. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks everybody for taking the time out of your day, especially you, Neil. 1 a.m. Hope you get a good night's sleep, well earned. Appreciate the insight and input. And hit like, subscribe, follow everybody on Twitter, and follow us on YouTube. We'll see you next time.
Take care, guys. I'll see you guys later.
Bye.